Issue 1, Health Summit, no deal.
I think most Americans think that a majority vote makes sense.
Majority vote is used here by President Obama is code. And that code means two things in this context. One, the Health Summit did not produce Republican-Democratic agreement. Secondly, Democrats will enact the Obama health plan without Republicans. Democrats are the majority in both chambers, and the majority rules. The reconciliation procedure, a term of art, can be invoked. This will permit the Democrats to install the health plan by a simple majority of 51, rather than a supermajority of 60. The Democrats can handily turn out 51 majority votes from their 59 senators. Question: were the Republicans set up in this whole exercise?
First, John, the Democrats only need 50 votes, plus Joe Biden. They don't need 51 senators. Were the Republicans about to be set up? They certainly were, but I will give Mitch McConnell credit. I thought he managed this thing brilliantly. He set himself aside, let Lamar Alexander take the lead, who did a magnificent job, I thought. He was followed by Tom Coburn, who did an excellent job. Obama was agreeing with some of the points he was making. And Harry Reid, I think, blew it for the Democrats, being partisan and nasty, virtually accusing Lamar of lying. Bottom line, John, is they're going to try to go through reconciliation. They have not got all the votes for sure in the House. This is a bloodbath. It is the end of any attempt at bipartisanship, but they'll try to get it done by Easter. They may or may not, but all the comity, if there was any left, is over.
Eleanor.
Well, I don't think it's a bloodbath. There are more jobs bills coming, and I think Republicans will be voting for those. And there were 70 votes for a jobs bill this week, which included 13 Republicans. So I think the Republicans are going to pick and choose which bills they go along with, because they're hearing from the public, and they've realizing that their unified opposition to the president on health care reform was beginning to backfire. So they're looking for their spots to be bipartisan. I think the summit helped both parties. I think it helped the political process, because people watch this and you see your politicians not acting like clowns. They even managed to get away from their talking points at different times. And I thought the president is accustomed to being the facilitator, and I think he did a good job looking for common ground. It does not exist enough to get Republican votes, and I think the Democrats are now prepared to move ahead, but it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be harder in the House for Nancy Pelosi to get her 217 votes than for Harry Reid to get his 50 in the Senate.
Mark, was it a setup of Republicans in the sense that they look like naysayers?
Only in this parallel universe that President Obama apparently exists in, where most Americans favor a majority vote, like Pat was pointing out. It may have been an attempted setup, but it didn't work because they simply don't understand what is going on with the American people now.
Clarence, what do you think?
Well, it depends on what interpretation you have of where the American people are. When you talk about, and Obama mentioned this, when you go down through the various features of the legislation, people buy it, one by one, but they don't like the overall thing because they identify it with this sausage-making process they've been watching, which they did not see at this summit. I thought it might be a trap for Democrats, for that matter, if expectations were real high and then nothing came out of it. But I think expectations were reasonable. Folks said maybe something will happen, probably not, and it didn't, except that you did see intelligent discussion going on. And one thing was really interesting, I thought, was that the rank and file senators and Congress people sounded more sensible than their leaders. I thought Harry Reid didn't come across as great as he could have, or Nancy Pelosi. They sounded more partisan. While you were hearing a lot of good voices come from the Republican and Democratic side, a lot of agreement was going on. You may not have a bipartisan vote, but you saw some bipartisanship as far as actual thinking going on, and that's refreshing.
Okay, so where do we go from here, sir, on health care reform? And what's the timeline, sir?
So the question that I'm going to ask myself, and I ask of all of you, is there enough serious effort that in a month's time or a few weeks' time or 6 weeks' time we could actually resolve something? And if we can't, then I think we've got to go ahead and make some decisions, and then that's what elections are for.
Is this political strategy brilliant or is it dumb, Pat?
I think Obama's got to do it. I think he cannot walk away from health care and have the Democratic Party with these monster majorities not even getting their signature legislation through and him walking away from it. So I think they're going to go for it. I think they're going to do battle. I agree with Clarence. I thought Pelosi and Reid dropped the ball, but I thought Obama was excellent. I agree with Eleanor in the way he handled this whole thing. But I do think, John, there is going to be such a terrible fight on this, the very fact that the filibuster is going to be passed over, and the fight is going to come in the House, as Eleanor says, and I do think from now on out, I mean, this is going to get very, very bloody. As I say, any sense of bipartisanship goes out the window once you go for the 50+1.
Let me let Mark in here. The timeline is to middle of April. Why would he want to establish the 15th of April, which is also an internal revenue?
That's a talking
timeline.
point.
Huh?
That's simply a talking point. Before this summit ever convened, the Democrats made a decision that they are going to go through reconciliation. So this is all sound and fury. It's all window dressing. It's like a beauty contest, but fortunately without the swimsuit competition.
But if it's window dressing, it was about rallying Democrats. It was really less about getting Republican votes because they weren't going to change their minds at this point, but stiffening the spines of moderate Democrats who don't want to take another vote that might hurt them in their district. And by pointing out that the Republicans are offering a plan that would cover 3 million more Americans and the Democrats are offering a plan that would offer 30 million more Americans, that the Republicans really don't want to regulate insurance companies so they can't toss you off if you have a pre-existing condition, and the Democrats do. By making that contrast clearer, they're hoping that their guys, the Democrats, are going to be willing to take another bullet for this president
it's like Iran.
on the bet that this,
It's like Iran.
that this legislation will be popular come November.
Okay, it's like Iran in this sense. Obama, we've gone the last mile. We tried to negotiate before we bombed them. And that's exactly what it is. Obama, it shows Obama and the Democrats having gone as far as they can go and being open, and they wanted to get that on the record. But I agree, they're going all the way to...
Majority rule isn't bombing, it's democracy.
Well, when we tried to run our judges through that way, it was...
Well, it reminds me of the Bush tax cuts, which Democrats didn't like, and Bush and people pushed that through reconciliation.
Now, wasn't it really brilliant politically because health reform was a corpse, and he was kind of hanging it in the closet, hoping that no one would bring it up. So he now brings it up, and just let me finish. Yeah. He brings it up in the summit context, and he moves the center of gravity from responsibility on his part to responsibility on the Congress, notably Pelosi and Reid. Well, so it's over there. It's not attaching to him. Do you see it that way?
Part of it, what you say is true. He clearly has revived it, and he clearly wants to show that we're reaching out to these Republicans. We're trying to be bipartisan. At the same time, we've got a very moderate proposal and a lot of their ideas. I thought it would work for both parties.
But he moved the corpse away from himself. He moved it over to them.
He wants it alive.
No, he didn't.
He didn't want
He wants it alive, but he had to bring it back. He had to bring it back. But you think he knew it all the time he was going to bring it back?
It's still a corpse, and it's still called Obamacare.
Well, it's a $1 trillion program, is it not?
More or less, depending on how you count it.
Now, how are people going to feel around, the middle of April if it goes that far? He said he's going to allow that much time for continued bipartisan effort.
No, I don't think he's going to allow that. I think this will be over within about 2 weeks.
Well, the people don't want that kind of public
No,
bet
they
now
don't.
for a plan that they find inscrutable.
The plan will deliver the insurance reforms immediately upon passage, and what Obama is showing himself as an activist president fighting against the insurance companies on behalf of the people. I mean, that's the message that you're supposed to take, John.
I think it was a politically brilliant move, and he was able to move the responsibility for passage away from himself. He gave the corpse to her, and now it's on Capitol Hill. Do you see it that way?
Well, all I saw was Republicans saying, start over. And I mean, no matter which side you're on, the idea of starting over.
You mean the blank page theory?
The blank page, starting over with a blank page after this whole year, that doesn't sound appealing either.
No, that's not appealing.
Absolutely. I mean, what Alexander said, this car, they didn't want to buy this model. It's a wreck. They wouldn't
People
need to get it out of the showroom.
There's going to be a negative around their neck in the coming election if the Democrats drive this through, as you say.
If they drive it through, it will be.
It will be.
It will kill the Democrats.
You know they're going to suffer anyway, so we might as well get some federal benefit from it.
They don't know that. They think they are in this other universe where it's going to help them.
It will be
Well,